Why New Zealand is going broke. For years, New Zealand was held up as a model nation. Breathtaking landscapes, political stability, and a quality of life envied around the world. Economists even called it a rockstar economy, growing faster than many developed peers. But today, that same country is facing its worst economic downturn since 1991. Record numbers of people are leaving. Productivity is stagnating. Housing and basic living costs have spiraled out of reach. So how did this paradise fall from grace? Today, we're breaking down why New Zealand is going broke and what it would take to pull it back from the brink. New Zealand's economy is often sold as clean, green, and stable, but beneath that image, much of its wealth rests on a surprisingly narrow base. Around 60% of goods exports come from a handful of primary products, often with minimal processing. The biggest is dairy, worth about 18 billion NZD a year, roughly a quarter of all goods exports. But 26% of that dairy goes to China, leaving a major pillar of the economy exposed to a single market. Meat exports add another $8.4 billion, forestry around $5 billion, mostly raw logs shipped overseas for others to process. Seafood and horticulture contribute smaller shares. Together, these industries keep the economy running, but they don't generate the high wages, resilience, or innovation of advanced manufacturing. High-tech exports account for just 13% of manufactured exports, far below most OECD countries. In the Economic Complexity Index, New Zealand ranks 50th globally, meaning it exports relatively simple goods and lacks diversification. That leaves the country highly vulnerable to climate shocks, commodity cycles, and geopolitical risk. At the same time, New Zealand has developed an unhealthy obsession with housing. Real estate services make up 11% of GDP, with construction adding another 5–6%. Over the past decade, house prices surged 130%, pushing the median home to 8.8 times median income, nearly triple what the OECD considers affordable. This created a wealth illusion. Capital flowed into property instead of productive businesses. Younger generations were locked out or buried in debt, and when interest rates rose, the illusion cracked. About 40% of mortgages were taken out during 2000 and 2021 at rates under 3%. Many are now resetting above 6%, doubling repayments for some households. That squeezes spending, raises default risk, and drags down growth. Meanwhile, New Zealand invests poorly in its future. R&D spending sits at just 1.4% of GDP, compared to an OECD average of 2.7%. As a result, productivity growth averaged only 0.3% per year over the last decade, one-fifth the OECD rate. Without productivity growth, wages stagnate while living costs rise. The most alarming consequence is the loss of talent. In 2024 alone, nearly 129,000 people left the country, the highest number ever recorded. These aren't just young travelers. They're engineers, IT professionals, healthcare workers, and families relocating permanently, often to Australia, where wages are 26% higher on average. Small towns are hollowing out, schools close, hospitals struggle to staff. Once people settle overseas, few return. Policy mistakes made things worse. During the pandemic, massive stimulus and ultra-low interest rates overheated housing. Then aggressive rate hikes deliberately pushed the economy into recession. At the same time, government spending was cut, pulling demand out during a downturn. By late 2024, HSBC ranked New Zealand the worst-performing developed economy. Unemployment rose, business failures surged, and confidence collapsed. And looming over all of this is demographics. 18% of the population is now over 65, rising to 21% by 2034. Pension and healthcare costs are climbing, while fertility rates fall and the workforce shrinks. Infrastructure is crumbling, with an estimated $400 billion deficit in roads, water systems, hospitals, and schools. Put it all together, a narrow export base, housing addiction, weak productivity, talent loss, policy missteps, and an aging population, and the picture becomes clear. New Zealand isn't broke yet, but its economic foundations are cracking. The question now is whether change is needed. It's whether the country will act before the window for reform closes. A paradise can survive storms, but only if it chooses to strengthen its foundations. What kind of New Zealand will be left behind?